Hey fam, welcome to Life Beyond the Finish Line. I'm your host, Orlandina, aka the Fitter Woman. I'm a women's physique pro in the International Federation of Bodybuilding. I'm an educator, motivator, and the People's Holistic Lifestyle Coach. And today we have with us a returning guest, Eve Aranoff-Trivella, for an honest and empowering conversation about navigating life's transitions and purpose. The last time she came, we spoke about how she went from suffering paralysis and on to becoming a judo champ. Now, we know she's an U.S. Olympian, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm a big fan. I love to talk about sports, but I'm a big fan of the athlete, and this is why I wanted to bring her back, because she actually is going to talk about how she launched her own business as a teenager, not even realizing where it was going to take her, but she decided to establish herself and lay the groundwork for life beyond competition, and how embracing that change became one of her greatest strengths. So please, Eve, welcome back to Life Beyond the Finish Line.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
So during our last interview, you spoke so powerfully about expecting and preparing for life's inevitable falls, right? And how to rise from them. So as we continued our conversation, the theme of transition and change kept surfacing. And I knew we weren't done. So I'm so glad you agreed to stay with us a little longer and to keep sharing your journey with us and her infectious energy.
Thank you. Glad to be here, believe me.
I'm so glad. So I want you to take us back to your teenage years. What inspired you to start your business so young, so early?
You know, it's something that just naturally happened. I wasn't doing it at the time when I started training people. I really wasn't doing it professionally.
Yes.
I started teaching in judo at a very young age, not officially, of course. I was very young, way too young to be a sensei.
Okay.
But my coaches, because I was a very high level in judo and because of my achievements, my coaches had me teaching at a very young age. So I would be on the mat assisting them, with not just children, but also adults, which went well because, again, I was teaching them and I was much higher rank, and I was I had high achievements, so they respected that.
Do you think, when you told me that, like, I was teaching adults and I was teaching children, sometimes adults have a difficult time learning from a younger person. Like, oh, what do you know? You're so much younger than I am. You didn't feel that, you didn't see that. And why do you think that is? Do you feel that because in that setting they respected the belt more, the technique, the experience?
I think it's a combination. The achievements for sure. My level was very high at a very young age, nationally, internationally. So I think they appreciated that. And I was teaching them something that they certainly didn't know, so they can't critique it in any way. And they knew that what I was teaching them, I was very good at.
Okay.
At a very young age, I was competing against women. When I was at a junior age, I was competing against women, and I was beating them in competition. So they understood that, male and female. They understood that, and everybody respected that. I was even teaching kata, which is form.
Oh yeah, kata.
Yes, at 13 years old, I was upstate at a judo training camp, upstate New York, and I was the kata instructor. And it was all adults. They were all studying their katas to get their brown belts, their black belts. So I was even teaching a man that was 60-something years old that was going for his, I was 13. He was 60-something, getting ready for his black belt test, and I taught him, and thankfully he passed.
He passed, yeah.
Yes, but I had to be his partner, so I had to take a lot of falls, so that was rough. He was very big man, yes. So it was just something that the transition was very natural. I was always very much into fitness, starting when I was 9, because I enjoyed cross training for judo. I would create workouts and different exercises that were sports specific.
Okay.
So I would take dumbbells and do judo throws with them.
Oh,
Not
nice.
just lift weights. I did that
Yes.
too, but not only that, but I did things that were purposeful for and specific for judo. So a lot of the young people, a lot of the other teenagers, they wanted to learn all of this, on the mat. And then I started friends that were not on the mat wanted to learn not only how to use these weights, but how to do it with the judo techniques, because they thought it was kind of cool.
Yes.
It was different.
Yes.
And I started doing that. And then by the time I was, I want to say 19 years old, that's when I started to get clients of my own. And I just thought, you know what, this is kind of a cool thing to do. I had some people that were athletes in other sports. And I thought, let me make a business out of this.
Look at that.
And I started working at a health club very part-time. I was on the U.S. Judo team.
Yes.
So I was
going to ask them, like, when we...
Yes, I was very busy. So I was working at the health club very part-time. I had a few clients that I was working one-on-one with. And I continued to do this until I went to the Olympics.
Yes.
And then after the Olympics, I had more time to work at the health club, more time to build my business. So I was doing both.
Okay.
And at the health club, I was pregnant with my first child.
Oh my
I thought I was going to go back to the 1992 Olympics.
Yeah.
So I was pregnant with her. They made me manager of the health club.
Okay.
And I was giving workouts. So I was doing probably about 60 hours a week between both. And then I thought to myself, I'm doing really well with my business on my own. I think I'll leave the health club and just continue with my clients, have the baby, and continue and see where it takes me.
Doesn't she sound like that old school? Just have my baby and then continue. These are the women like, have the baby, let's go, keep rocking.
I had such a great athletic career, a sports career, that it was getting, I went back to competing.
Yes.
So my parents were watching, my daughter a lot for me. She was only, I would say she was probably about 15 months old when I decided I've had enough, because I thought I was going to go back and go in the 1992 Olympics. And it just didn't feel right anymore. Like, I want to be home now and, have more children and continue to build my business, which I adore to this day. I've had a wonderful, wonderful business. I feel that I've worked very hard at it.
Yes.
And I feel very lucky that I somehow just felt it when I was a kid and just transitioned it so easily. It's just what I love to do.
That's interesting because you hear often that a lot of athletes have a hard time transitioning. I was saying that, now she's gonna have to correct me when I'm saying this, okay? So judo has two philosophies. What are they?
Seiroku Zenyo.
Seiroku Zenyo, and which means maximum efficiency, and the other one?
Jito Kyoi.
Jito Kyoi, which means mutual welfare and benefit. But when I was reading more about Seiroku Zenyo, it's about maximum efficiency, right? About the transference of energy. Yes. Right?
Yes.
When you take the energy of one opponent, because you'd spoken that in our last episode.
Exactly.
You take the opponent's energy. That's what judo's about. You take person's strength and you use it against them. Correct. And what came to mind was like the law of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transferred. So this idea of transferring energy. So you're transferring this energy and this love of judo as an athlete, and now transferring it into the love of it as a teacher. Because you see that, and it's funny you said the transfer was so easy, the transition was so easy, because I feel like you did it naturally. You realize there's a shift happening, and let me go with the flow, right?
Yes.
But a lot of athletes have a hard time with that, transitioning from being a competitor to now being a civilian. Why do you think that is? What is the difference between the way you did it and the way maybe some of them do it, and maybe they can learn from you to make it an easier transfer?
I think that when they are a young athlete coming up, I think that they should try to think about that at an earlier age. But I think that the thing that happens is they continue, and you get very wrapped up in your athletic career, that which is good, and it's good to be very focused, but I think we all need short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yes.
And I think those long-term, sometimes we just get off track.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's important to think about it as a young person, as a teenager. Okay, what could I do next? What could I take? What could I get out of what I'm doing? And transition when I'm finished with this sport. What am I going to do? Whether it's continue with something within that sport or maybe not. Maybe it's something
different.
else in sports.
Yeah.
Sports
Management.
management. Yes.
Therapy.
There's so many things, and I think that young people just have to, just open up their minds and just let it go.
Just let it go, and just be more open as to what this could be. Right. And you said it. I recognize the fact that this didn't feel right. Like, there's a point, because even for me, when it was time for me to retire, I just saw where the sport was heading, and the women were just so much more competitive, and I did not have the time to be that competitive. These are phenomenal athletes that I'm up against, and my top placement was top 5 with the New York Pro, and I'm extremely proud of that. But there's a time where I'm looking.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I realized it's time to shift. But I had a hard time because I love competing. I love training with a goal, with a purpose. So that's me. I'm like, well, if that goal and that purpose is not there, how do I train? So I went through a couple of shifts and bumps, and I'm trying to figure it out. So my coach was like, you're messing up right now. Messing up, you're getting fluffy. What's going on?
Well,
the fitter woman.
And then you came up with this.
I came up with this.
This is great.
I was like, and this is a space that I've always wanted to be in.
So nice.
So to be able to, this is such a cool space. And I'm like, all right, I'm in my space now. I'm like, okay, I figured it out.
Yes.
We're going to continue, but I want to give us our station ID. Hey fam, this is Orlandina Ballin, the Fitter Woman. You're tuned into Life Beyond the Finish Line on 90.3 WHPC. Today I'm joined by the incredible Eve Aranoff-Trivella, Olympian, Judo trailblazer, and a true example of resilience. We're diving into how she turned transition into transformation and how embracing change became her superpower. So, when did you realize that transformation is not a one-time thing? Because it took me a minute to figure that out.
Well, I have to say, just the different changes that I saw in judo and fitness, both industries, from the 70s, the 80s, into the 90s. As I said, that's when I decided to retire from competing. Instead of going to the 92 Olympics, I had another child.
Yeah. See, now you got 2 babies.
Yeah, and then one more in 95.
Okay, now 3 babies. Yeah. So
I guess just it's something that I was just always aware of, because I always wanted to better myself. And I always wanted to challenge myself. I get bored. I want to challenge myself. And by by challenging myself, it opened up my eyes to being creative within my company.
Yes.
So what I did was different transitions. So I started with, the fitness with weights, doing judo movements. Then I decided, hey, you know what? Teaching my clients how to fall is an exercise. Let's teach them judo falls into, say, a sit-up or some kind of ab exercise, a fall that I could modify so it's a safe way of, so they fall on something soft or, to modify it for them. So I was always thinking, again, I would get bored and I would say, okay, I could incorporate this part of judo in it, or just different exercises that we did in judo that are a little different than the mainstream.
Yes.
I would mix that in. And then I also started mixing judo throws or chokes or hold downs in it, and they didn't even realize
her
it.
clients are running around the streets dangerous.
Yeah, they don't even
Okay.
realize it. And then I'll show them something and I'll say, you know what? I'll make them do like a foot sweep, a judo foot sweep, say into a half squat.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll say to them, after I have them do, say, 20 of them, I'll say, you just learned a judo foot sweep.
That's right.
Or you just learned a judo throw and went into a squat and then into a push-up. Or, so
That's
they don't
amazing.
even
That's
know.
so
They
creative.
enjoy it.
Yes. Because it's different.
Yes.
It's different. It's
not
not,
different.
I love working out. I love the weights. To me, it's just such a challenge.
I love weights.
I love weights.
Very important. Weights
is
are very important. Yes.
So it builds that strength, your muscles, your bones, but learning it with the technique that you have. Now, the reason why I went to martial arts was initially because I needed to move my body in a different way, right? So by learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and learning boxing and weapons, universal defense systems, I learned how to use the Eskrima sticks, Filipino stick fighting. So, and I realized
Very nice.
I loved it. Knives, swords,
stuff.
I love it, love it, love it. But would I go into tournament? No, because I was like, no, I didn't want people hitting me. I was just like, I'm not going to willingly stand there. But self-defense. I learned self-defense through just by moving differently and techniques, and then the philosophy. It just helped me to become not only just a well-rounded athlete, but a well-rounded person. So I think that by introducing your clients to just these different movements, it opens their mindset. So like you said, just opening your mind to think of something else. Just, you realize you have the color blue, but that blue has a various spectrum in there. So I think that's dope.
Correct. Yeah.
How do you continue to challenge yourself? I mean, you're a mover and a shaker. How do you continue to challenge yourself?
I think it's because I love working out every day, and I kind of put myself in the position of my clients, or just people, and what they would want out of an exercise, physically, emotionally, mentally. And then I try different things. I do things differently all the time. It's the longer you live, which thank God I'm still here.
Amen. You got that right.
Thank goodness. The longer you live, the more you have to challenge yourself, because you're here, and like you said, we get bored. So it's difficult to challenge yourself, but I'm pushed to challenge myself because there's always these young people that are going to come up with things, and I want to be ahead of everybody. So, I started a lot of all this with the mix of fitness and judo and being creative. I don't want anybody to take it away from me.
No, but you see
I worked too
now.
hard for that.
You got that right. You're like, I established this. You see it.
Yes.
You see people mixing up certain different forms and bringing it into, you see, call them flows and things like that. But just to see that, you're on the forefront. You were on the forefront when you were on the first women's Olympic judo. You were on the forefront of that. You're a trailblazer there. You're a trailblazer when it comes here. So in your transitions, you've always been a trailblazer, and you want to continue to be there. It inspires so many people.
Definitely. So I guess when it comes down to it, it's really the younger generation that keeps me challenging myself.
That's good.
Because I have to stay on top of things.
Stay on top of them. They're afraid of those muscles anyway. So But what advice would you give to athletes currently struggling with identity after their sport? Like, because when you've been studying judo since you were 9, 6, 7, right? Since 9, and you've transitioned. So you build an identity around that. So, and when you transition, sometimes it's hard to let go and say, okay, I'm not letting go of judo. I'm just letting go of being a judo athlete in the competitive sense. So how do you help athletes currently struggling with their having to let go of or changing their identity, or having, not even changing, but transforming that identity after their sport?
Well, I think that they have to think about all of the opportunities that there are out there within their sport. I think that's the most important thing to do, is to just, the people that play these sports, they love what they're doing, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it.
Correct.
So try to take what you have and do something with it. I think that's the most important thing. Whether it's coaching other children, teaching other children, being involved in some other way. There's, you just have to try to branch out and check out all those other opportunities that are there. And today there's also a lot of organizations that are there for athletes after
their sport.
Yes. So they could look into things like that, different programs that can help them.
Correct.
And I would say, don't try to force yourself. Don't try to force yourself to do something outside of that if it doesn't feel good. You may get somebody that say, oh, well, there's nothing I could do after college swimming. I don't know what to do with myself. I tried this, and I tried these business classes or economics or whatever. I tried it, and it's just not working, and I'm taking these classes. Well, don't force those. Maybe the business classes maybe can help you start a little swim club.
Correct.
So take what you have
and just
and make it
together.
better. Yes. That's how I think. It's a philosophy that I always had with my as an athlete. Sometimes you would get a lot of coaches pulling at you and trying to get you to use their techniques or change you or your style, their style rather, and change things. And as a coach, because I've coached, I would never try to do that to anyone. So it's the same thing. I would take what they have, especially you're looking at it and they're successful at it. Take what they have and make it better. So I feel the same way with that. Just take what you have and make it better, just maybe in a little bit of a different direction. There are things there, so don't think you have to
do it the same. And
Yes.
sometimes just by you doing what somebody else is doing, but you do with your own flavor, your own flair, your own personality. That's all it takes. It doesn't, there's how many recipes for chocolate chip cookies?
Yes, that's right.
But not everybody's chocolate chip cookies is the same.
That's
so
right.
You just make your own recipe. You take your own flair and your own experiences to make you a better person, a better athlete, and who knows, and then finding your purpose within that, right? So taking your sport, taking your own personal flavor and just putting and creating that. But I think what you said at the top of the show was start thinking about it in the beginning. Just start feeling around for it so that you know where you're going to be. So I always ask my guests as we come to the end of our episodes, I always ask them that if you were to be inducted into the Hall of Champions, and what words would you want inscribed under your name? So in the military, they say bigger, fitter. Well, I say bigger, fitter, stronger. Those are my 3 words. What are your 3 words?
I know I sent this to you, and now I've forgotten.
You've forgotten it? That's okay.
Do you have them with you?
I do. Put this on the phone.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And I didn't write it. And it's on my phone, so I can't get it. But just speak from the heart.
Okay, I will do that. I think, as I said once before, one of the words, respect. And I think that's the most important, which we spoke about that that I think is the number one. I would definitely say that. Another word I would say is focus.
Yes.
Focus is very, very, very important.
Yes, it is.
And discipline.
So respect, focus, discipline. Because discipline is what ties all of it together,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think that's beautiful. Respect, focus, and discipline.
Probably even better than the three that I gave you
Yeah.
prior to
See, I
that.
told you, when you speak from your heart, you know, not everything has to
Yes.
be scripted, and sometimes things just come and with the flow, just like with judo.
Yeah.
Everything just happens with the flow. So, with that
Absolutely.
being said, Eve, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for
you.
being here for 2 episodes. We really enjoyed you.
I enjoyed you.
Oh, tell everybody where they can find you so that if you want to join these workouts and get these
Okay,
goes
well, I'm
and learn how
on
to take people out.
Instagram. I believe it's under learn how to take people out.
Listen, you'll find her.
Eve
I'm going to have it in here.
Aranoff-Trivella. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm sorry. So yes, you could find. You can Google Eve Aranoff-Trivella, Judo Olympian, and basically find all of my contact information. I have a Wikipedia, so you can find out about my history and all my achievements and my business, everything. And all my contact is there.
You just Google her.
Yes, just
Plain and
Google. I'll be waiting.
Exactly. So, fam, with that being said, remember to be bigger, fitter, stronger, bigger in mind, fitter in body, stronger in spirit, and be good to this wonderful temple called you. I'm Orlandina Ballin, a.k.a. The Fitter Woman, inviting you to join me next time on Life Beyond the Finish Line, available wherever you stream your favorite podcast, and always right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, WHPC 90.3.